All right, Gemini, here we go. Here's your overall for the week. The Nine of Wands. You know, and I don't know where the hell this is coming from. With the Nine of Wands being the signifier, first of all, what I usually like to do is talk about the face value of the card and then get into, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling. The Nine of Wands is talking about being defensive, right? You may be looking for another fight because you've already been through the battle. Now it's also about protecting, yourself and what is important to you. You may be, keeping the wall up, not wanting something to come through, but persistence is what stuck out to me here. And I think that some of you are persistently trying to go after something here, but like not getting anywhere. And like I said, I don't know where that's coming from, but we'll see. Now, in the past, the Two of Swords. So, needing to make the difficult choice, right? But have you done it, though? And that choice may be to, stop. Now, with the Two of Swords as the past coming through, clearly here there was a choice that needed to be made, but, it's still persistent, so it makes me wonder if you've done this or not. Now, one of the things that I talk about with this is you have the Ace of Swords that comes through right before this, which means that you have that truth, that clarity. So that blindfold there is bullshit because you already know what the situation is. A lot of times the reason why we don't make difficult choices and we choose to stay at the stalemate is because you don't know. You don't know what that means if you make this choice, right? You don't know for sure what's going to happen. And that's a lot of the reason why we don't. We would rather just, I'm not going to look at it right now. I don't want to deal with it right now. But I think some of you are being forced to. But like I said, it's needing to stop. Yeah. I'm telling you. The Ace of Swords. And that may help you, though. As far as, accepting the truth of a situation. Getting the truth on something that you may have been trying to block out with the Nine of Wands, but it's you're being forced to see it now, Okay, and that worries me a little bit. Now, with the Seven of Pentacles being future conditions, if you're reevaluating a situation, and it's funny because this has been coming up for me with this one, are you looking for a reason to continue doing something because you think, well, if I try it this way, it'll produce different results. But, are you really actually seeing what you want? But then the other thing, though, too, is, the question becomes, is it worth your time and effort? The seven, because we're at a seven, I don't look at this as waiting. I feel like you're already seeing the results of the work and the effort that you've put through in a situation. But then the question always becomes, is it actually what you want? How do you continue growth? Do you need to change the way that you're doing things? But when we're talking about reevaluating a situation and looking at the Nine of Wands, it's trying to look at it from a different angle when you already know what the truth is. And like I said, the only reason why I feel that way is because of the Nine of Wands there. It's persistence on something that, may not give you the results that you want. But you're looking to continue, though. And that's the thing. It would have been different. It would have been like the Eight of Cups. But your best path to follow, the Page of Cups. Wow. All right. I think that for you, one of the things with the Page of Cups is a new experience, new emotional experience, the communication of emotions. You could definitely be talking about you needing to communicate the way that you feel and maybe not being so defensive, possibly. But I feel like if you have communication coming through, maybe you need to look at this and take this new path. Whatever that is. If we're talking about a new relationship, a new job, something that, there's the potential here for you to feel good, rather than being here. Because I look at that and I think that, this is something you've been fighting for, but yet the truth and you're being forced to look at it now, whereas before I don't think you wanted to, and you're going to have to make a choice, but you're still here, thinking about what to do next and trying to reevaluate it to fit your own needs. And I hate saying it that way, but that's what's coming up for me with this. But like, I think that there's something else. But it's like, you need to, do this. You need to do this. But like I said, for some of you, it could just simply be that you need to start communicating your emotions. But this is different for me looking at this. Okay, so yeah, if we are talking about like a work situation here, then, maybe it's time for you to look at going somewhere else, because you're persistently working on something. And, again, like, I kind of go back to this, but like, I'm waiting to see what's coming out here. But the thing is, you come in with the difficult choice on whether or not to continue working on something. And again, persisting at something that may not be giving you what you want. With the Three of Pentacles, working with someone, trying to work with someone toward a common goal, right? It is about the recognition that you're receiving, though, maybe doing some collaborating in terms of work. But are you actually getting, what you deserve? Because the thing is if you were, I would have expected to see like the 8 show up here, or like the 10 of Pentacles. But that's not the case. You're reevaluating something that you're like persistently like fighting on, and when do you stop? And like I said, you come in with like needing to make this difficult choice here. And I think that you have something else, but it's like, wanting to continue to work at something that's just going to continue to produce the same results. And maybe you deserve more credit for what you do. Your hopes and your fears, the 10 of Cups, you want happiness. You want overall happiness, right? The happily ever after with the 10 of Cups. Fearing that you're not going to get to this place, and hoping for it. But the only way to get to, this absolute happiness is maybe you need to open up to a new situation coming through. And make the difficult choice to take a completely new path. But the thing is I'm looking at, emotional fulfillment between the two. It is a new experience here. But being the messenger, it makes me think that you're blocking out communication that may be coming through for a new start, a new beginning. Right? There is, absolute clarity as far as the fact that, you're doing something, like when I look at the 3 of Pentacles and I look at the 8 of Pentacles, there's a skill and a talent here. But like I said, are you actually getting the recognition that you deserve? Because you should be seeing better results, But like I said, you could be definitely reaping the benefits of something really good here. But like I said, that 2 of Swords and the 9 throws me off. Because I've always said with the 9 of Wands, this person is so on guard that they may be missing opportunities coming through. And here it is. Now, when we're talking about the Wheel of Fortune, again, to me, like, I see repeating cycles because we're only at the 10 here, right? So you're going to have to go back 1 through 9. But it is the opportunity for better things to happen. Now, with the King of Swords, I mean, clearly you know what the truth is, right? But are you making that difficult choice here to possibly move to a new situation instead of continuing to work at something that's just keeping you at a 3 and not moving you further? Because what you're hoping for is that 10, right? So it may be that, in the right time here, something will come through. But if you're continuously like fighting for, something to work that just isn't going to give you what you want, like I said, you may have to go for something else. But you're thinking about it here. You know the truth. You're seeking the truth here. And for some of you, yeah, you could be dealing with another person here. Now, with the 2 of Pentacles, you're still trying to figure it out. Like, you're still trying to figure it out. You're still trying to, like, justify why you should continue doing this, is what I feel like. And the 5 of Wands, we could be talking about the inner conflict, or you, like, fighting off competition. Especially with the 9 of Wands being there. But I don't know. I feel more so that it's like the reason why, like, you're still like trying to figure it out and not really making a choice here is because you may be fearing competition as far as work goes. You may be looking at it like, you're just battling yourself. And confidence, like feeling like you need to be a little bit more confident. Because when I look at the Five of Wands, right, like versus the Five of Swords, it's really about you, you know, rising above the rest. But not in a, ah, ha, 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 I won and you didn't type of way. You know what I'm saying? But it's like you're still trying to figure it out. But I have to wonder with the Wheel of Fortune if you're not forced to, like, make a choice, you know? But, like, if you continue to battle with the idea of, you know, doing something new and something different, then, you know, it's like an opportunity may pass you by, though, too. And you just may be repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And it's funny because, I mean, none of this is really bad. Now, you know, some of you may be like fending off new opportunities because you're still like wanting to work at something else, even though you know the truth of the situation. You know, because I mean, ultimately here, what you're wanting is long-term happiness. Okay, so for those of you who are single, maybe you need to have your friends help you control your urges here. Because that's really what that's about. Control and dominance and like hunting down something here. Now, you know, definitely, right? Your friends may be like, oh boy. Your friends may be the ones that are like going, you know, hey, you know, there's this person and that person. You get to like indulge in like your wants and needs in terms of relationships. Oh boy, but it's really... Oh my God. You know, it's really about getting control over those urges, but I don't think that your friends are helping, honestly. Helping you to indulge in your urges. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know, and as far as that goes, right, like you could definitely be saying here that there may be somebody that you have an interest in, and like your friends may help you like get to this point here, but whew, man, that one's weird for me looking at that card. Now, for those of you who are in a relationship, the Chariot, the sneak attack. Now, you know, the reason why it's referred to that is because out of nowhere, it's like somebody is coming through and like wanting to take control of the relationship, wanting to like express how they feel, and it's like coming out of nowhere, and there needs to be a little bit of trust. You may be in a relationship here where you may be dealing with somebody who's not like fully communicating how they feel, and it's going to come out of nowhere, right? Because like right now, I think that some of you don't feel like there's any like real direction in terms of a relationship, right? But like out of nowhere, somebody's going to come through and like, you know, here I am. This is how I feel. This is what I want. You know, and maybe there's a little bit better control, but it's like you just need to trust. You need to have faith that, you know, if you do this, that things are going to go okay. But then also like needing to have faith that maybe your partner is finally going to open up. But it's going to come in a way where it's like, wow, you know. But damn, Gemini, really? But, you know, like I said, with the general read here, like I worry that you're just like not being honest with yourself about the fact that what you're working toward may not give you what you want. And like with the Nine of Wands, I worry that, you know, you're continuing to persist on a situation that isn't going to give you what you want. But with the Wheel of Fortune, right, like if you have, you know, something new coming through that's being communicated to you, are you blocking it out? That is the issue. You know, I think that you know the truth with the King of Swords being there. But like I said, we could be dealing with a person though too. But it's like you're still trying to figure it out. All right, Gemini, so if we're talking about a work situation, I do think that maybe some of you are being a little bit defensive when it comes to your ideas, you know, especially when we're talking about work. Because I see you not giving up. You're ultimately working here toward your absolute happiness, especially when it comes to what you're working toward, right? But then, you know, also whether or not to continue working with other people, which I kind of get that too with the Two of Swords. But looking at the Seven of Pentacles, again, for me, it's like, are you actually seeing what you want? You know, or is there another opportunity here for you to do something different? Which may be why you have the Page of Cups as the best path to follow. Really needing to take a new path, especially when it comes to ideas. You know? But then as far as that goes too, it could be you needing to not be so defensive and needing to communicate some more emotions. You know, I mean, I still think that you're speaking your truth with the Ace of Swords, but I also think it's the truth of a situation and getting clarity in what you're actually working toward. You know, because again, I look at these two and I'm like, you know, are you really seeing what you want in terms of your overall happiness? Now, as far as like the clarifiers, you know, looking at the King of Swords, like I can see that being you and thinking logically about it, but then you end up in this place here with the Two of Pentacles where you're still trying to figure it out, but do you get beat out by competition? You know what I mean? I worry a little bit in terms of what's happening for work, and it's not even that bad, you know, but what throws me off here is the need for you to take a new path, and then you coming in with the Two of Swords and not being able to make a clear decision. It's like you just can't do it right now, you know? And I think some of you are trying to persist on something that you've been, like, working at. You know, and like, this could be a work or a partnership here. But, you know, I worry that some of you feel like you're not good enough. Looking at, like, this is your last chance here, and you're talking smack to yourself, right? But I would just say that, you know, and I'm glad it's the Five of Wands and not the Five of Swords. There's going to be, you know, a new cycle that's going to be starting for you. There's going to be another opportunity coming through, but it's really whether or not you want to take this, especially if you know that if you continue to do what you're doing now, it's not going to give you what you want. You know, and again, that's just me when I see the Seven of Pentacles. You know, and it's really about looking at how do you continue the growth that you want to see. Now, as far as as far as relationships go, oh, Gemini, let your friends help you, and then you have the Knight of Swords. You have to understand that looking at this card, first of all, it's weird anyway. I mean, obviously here, dominance, right? But indulging in your urges and needing to get control over those urges, but I don't think your friends are helping you. You know, but your friends may introduce you to a person here where you feel like, you know, you've won, right? Now, as far as those of you who are in a relationship, this isn't that bad. Trust. Trust in the Chariot. Trust that, you know, your partner is going to start taking control of what they want in terms of the relationship. You know, making sure that the relationship goes in a better direction, right? But then also, you know, the sneak attack where somebody comes in out of nowhere and starts really, like, telling you how they feel and what they want and wanting to take control. But I don't know about singles, man. I would just say that coming out, you know, don't stay in that balancing act too long, especially if you're looking at a new opportunity, because I don't know, with this being your best path to follow, it makes me wonder if there isn't something better than what you're working at right now.